Hello everyone, welcome back. I am your friend Aji. This is a channel that not only talks about our stocks, digital currencies, AI technology, but also includes non-agricultural and employment news. Today is Thursday. Let's continue to summarize the previous US stock market situation and look forward to today's trading opportunities. Let's go back to the software and take a look at yesterday's closing situation. Firstly, let's take a look at yesterday's slight decline in the Dow Jones Industrial Average, while the S&P 500 and Nasdaq indices saw slight increases. So the index has experienced a situation of uneven fluctuations, which means the index has diverged. Let's take a look at the market trend of the S&P 500 yesterday. It rose after opening, then fell back and continued to rise in a V-shaped pattern at the end of the day. Let's take a look at this market trend, which is basically an N-shaped trend, similar to the day before yesterday. So the Nasdaq and QQ basically follow this N-shaped market trend. Let's take a look, and for short-term operations, this market trend is very good. When we see a situation like this at the beginning of the market, our teacher also has a strategy called long opportunity. When the market rises, we ask everyone to reduce their positions, and then there is an intraday pullback. At the bottom, we prompt us to lay out long positions again at this position. So we can also get this rebound at the end of the day. For the index, the short-term performance is quite good. We also want to tell everyone that the current situation of the index is mainly in the short and medium term, because in the near future, the index also has the risk of high valuation, including technology stocks. Let's take a look from the perspective of sectors. Yesterday, technology stocks, driven by Google, still saw a rebound in most stocks. Therefore, Google's rise yesterday was quite explosive, while Apple's rise was nearly 4 points. Tesla and NVIDIA were originally experiencing a downturn, but due to the overall sector effect, they also experienced a rise. Tesla rose and fell, and NVIDIA also rose and fell. So in this situation, there should be a collective behavior in the entire technology stock market soon. So whether this collective behavior is collective bullish or collective bearish remains to be examined by the market. For technology stocks, I still have confidence, especially for companies like NVIDIA. I said I would buy more and more as the market falls, and I have always insisted on this. Next, let's take a look at the PLTR SPY. Let's take a look at the 5-minute chart and see why this position is supported and under pressure. Let's take a look at our AI main tracking system. Here is the position of long pressure 1, short support and long support, according to the main tracking system. The strength of the long-term support will be greater than that of the short-term support. If the strength of the short-term support is 10, the long-term support will be 20, and the long-term pressure will also be 20. So why is it that when the stock price returns to the vicinity of long-term support, a blue center is formed? We said that the blue center is the main force attracting funds, so after the main force attracting funds ends, the corresponding trend is definitely upward. In the vicinity, we observed a decline near the long-term pressure, and when we stepped back on this short-term support, we continued to pull up. Although we broke through the long-term pressure, we did not stabilize. Let's see, if we continue to fall back, why is there a central support here? Why isn't it breaking through in one breath? We know that the short-term support is here and then it falls back again. This is the long-term support. So, according to our AI main tracking system for short-term trading, it is very accurate to grasp any wave band. We also validated the functionality of this AI main tracking system through market testing before launching it. Let's take a look at how it will go today and Thursday. Let's take a look at this position where it rebounds and stands on the bull-bear line and then steps back. We can see that this position happens to be at the short support position, and there is a situation of stepping back, right? Returning to the bull-bear line, if nothing unexpected happens, it will continue to rise. I think we may be able to see the long pressure near here. So according to the AI main tracking system, we can conclude that it may continue to rise next. So for the SPY index, its direction is so clear. Let's take a look at the Nasdaq QQ, and let's take a look at the Nasdaq QQ. Basically, the trend is the same as the SPY, right? After demonstrating its support and pressure through the AI main tracking system, we will know where the bottom and top are, right? At least in the short term, it is easy to distinguish between the top and bottom of the short term. For example, here we jump short and open low, and then rebound to the bull or bear line after gaining support. At this pressure level, let's take a look at the blue area here. There is a consolidation situation in the short-term pressure, continuing to step back on the bull or bear line. Using the main tracking system to superimpose the bull or bear line and using a foolproof strategy, this accuracy can reach at least 95. This is not nonsense. We can try it out or continue to pay attention to the opportunities we are talking about to see if this is the way to operate in the future. Let's take a look at the current situation. When it comes to QQ, our main focus is on whether it can break through the pressure level 1. If it breaks through the pressure level 1, it will rise to this pressure level. So if it's not worth investing too much, its profit margin is here, right? Between 570 and 575 or 574, aren't these 2 points exactly here? Isn't it particularly precise? If we want to chase high, we will do it this way. If you can't go to this position, you may continue to step back on the bull-bear line. If you fall below the bull or bear line, which is also a long support level of 2, you can set up multiple positions. This is some short-term operation direction of the overall market index. Of course, there is no problem with the long term, and we can make up for it in the long term. Where is its main force? Let's take a look. Yesterday, Google rose fiercely. Let's take a look at its entire direction. If we open its daily chart, we can tell where the main force is. Let's take a look at the main tracking system. Why did it surge yesterday? There will be a main force pushing it. And the main force's golden band is at this position, the 200-point integer level, which is definitely a very favorable support. Let's take a look at why this position rose in the early days and why the main force didn't rise here, right? This position is actually in the process of falling and smashing the market. The main force is constantly attracting chips and smashing the market. When the chips absorb enough time, it will gradually rise from the bear zone to the bull zone. Then let's take a look and see if it has never fallen below the bull zone, right? This kind of backstepping is a normal situation, and the long support is all here, right? So this point, along with this point and the trading intensive area here, are all at the same support level, which is the support level. It is impossible for it to fall below, or in other words, it will not fall below in the short term. Therefore, we are particularly good at seizing this opportunity. So if we were to do a long-term strategy, we would position ourselves as the main force in the gold market to attract investors and plan for this wave of future gains. Can you see if we can pull from the 80s to the 90s and reach 230? This is really terrifying, as the main stocks have doubled. If I don't even know how to calculate options, right? We can go take a look. And Google L, let's take a look. Google A, we see the same trend, basically the same. Let's take a look at its main tracking system, which is actually here. From the perspective of long support and short support, this position is actually the spot for attracting funds. We see here is the blue bullish center, and both long and short supports have appeared. The significant increase at this position must be due to the main force's rise or positive news, right? Otherwise, there would be no opportunity for such a significant increase. So for the main tracking system, no matter which stock it is, it can basically analyze its opportunities. Let's take a look at Tesla. We talked about the main force tracking yesterday. Currently, it has returned to the position near the main force. If we talk about returning to around 300 or 310, it is a good opportunity for layout. Because we can see that the long support is right at this position, and then the main force is here. We can see that there are also main force fundraising opportunities below, so based on these two main forces, basically it will continue to rise. Let's not talk about whether it can break through the previous high point. At least its overall direction is not a problem, falling down. The callback consolidation is over. It's our chance to get on the bus. Let's take a look at how Tesla operated for 5 minutes yesterday. Let's take a look. So for Tesla yesterday, if we take a look at this position, did it just get support and form a center here, right? Moreover, it has always been in a downward trend, always below the bull-bear line. This blue line is called the bull-bear line. And above it belongs to the bull market bull zone, while below it belongs to the bear zone. Therefore, this is how the bull-bear line comes about. Then let's take a look at yesterday's bull or bear line and see if it immediately rose after reaching the line. And then there was a situation of only winning near the pressure level, which means that it did not break through at this position and then retreated again. We see a pullback as stepping back on the bull-bear line, so next I think it may step back on the long support line and even form a center here, which is the B center. Because this is already the A center, right? According to the standard formula of our entanglement theory, the probability of forming a B center is actually quite high. So for Tesla, we know how to operate, at least in the short term. We need to control our position well. We said that the position of 315 or 310 is the best layout timing. Of course, there are many opportunities for short-term trading within the day. What we're talking about is 315, which refers to the short to medium term. We must distinguish it and then take a look at NVIDIA. From the 5-minute chart, it can be seen that yesterday's market trend was also well captured by NVIDIA. Let's take a look. It first rose and then fell back, showing a consolidation pattern near the bull-bear line. Let's take a look at the stock price. It was directly pulled up from this position, right? There is support and speculation below with 1 buy to buy and 3 buy positions. You can see that this wave of upward movement is more or less achievable in the short term. So near this pressure level, near the bull-bear line, there was a consolidation that formed in a center and then it fell back. Let's take a look at it now, which happens to be at the bull-bear line. If it can break through and stabilize at this pressure level 1, pressure 1 is the position of the bull-bear line. Once it can stand firm at this position, it will rush to the vicinity of the 2 pressure points above and may break through and reach the position of long pressure. So this is a short-term layout opportunity. Also, if it doesn't break through at this position, if it sticks below your bull or bear line, it may retrace to this position. Everyone must remember that at least support 2 is the first retracement position. Support level 3 is the second retracement of the position. So it is important to remember that if the entire technology sector is bullish and rising at the opening, it will definitely rise. Tesla and NVIDIA's overall direction should be consolidation, and there are many opportunities in the short term. Let's take a look at Apple again. Let's take a look at its daily chart, because from the daily chart we can distinguish whether the main force has attracted funds. The main force's fundraising behavior at the daily chart level is very light and accurate. Let's take a look from Apple's perspective. It goes without saying that the main players have long been involved in this, and many funds may be held for the long term because these stocks are relatively stable. And their returns are very, very stable, just like Buffett held this Coca-Cola before, and there are also tech leaders like NVIDIA, which are definitely very stable. Apple is also the same. If we look at the current situation, it is still in this position on the daily chart. We can zoom in and take a look. So for now, Apple may have a short-term opportunity to continue rising as it has already broken through this support level. And its next pressure level can only be at this level. So for students who are engaged in short and medium-term trading, we can see positions at 250 or 255, which are some of Apple's operational directions. Let's take a look at the 5-minute chart. Did you have a chance to get on the bus last night? Let's take a look. Here is a 5-minute chart, so how do we analyze it? First, jump high into the air. There's nothing we can do about it, right? No one can predict a short or high opening in the market. But if it jumps short or opens high and then rebounds, it will be our opportunity. Let's take a look at jumping high and stepping back at this position to see if it happens to be a long support position, right? The position with a long support of 1 can be considered for getting on the car, then pulling up and stepping back at this position. Let's take a look at yesterday's increase. It was the most aggressive in the late trading session and happened to be around the pressure level 1. If we were to make a profit in the previous wave, we could consider entering the market first. Whether it corresponds or not, we should first lock in profits. After locking in profits, we will consider waiting for the pressure level to rise before stepping back down when the bull or bear line or the long support line reaches 1. We will consider the layout. Then the goal is to see around 255 as we mentioned earlier, so this is a 5-minute short to medium term. We correspond to short-term and ultra-short-term trading, and of course there are many opportunities for intraday operations. Also, let's take a look at the PLTR we usually give. PLTR experienced a decline yesterday, so when can we get on board when it falls back to this level? Let's take a look here. First of all, here are the first, second, and third positions. We can see that they are 1, 2, and 3, and their bottoms are all rising. We can see that position 1 corresponds to long support 1, position 2 corresponds to short support 2, and position 3 corresponds to our support 1. Therefore, these supports are located here, and their bottoms are basically at this position. If you want to operate in the short term, you can chase a bullish opportunity. But the pressure level is here. We are looking at long-term pressure, and you must be cautious in dealing with it. If you want to make a profit, you should take a long position first. If you feel that there is not much space at this position, we can continue to observe. Next, let's take a look at the stock we recently recommended to you, CRWV. Let's take a look at the 15-minute chart, which shows that we have just returned to the vicinity of the buying point. Let's check if we can use our AI main tracking system to see if this position has just returned to the support area. If we build a position at this position, it will fall back again. We can continue to replenish our position around 87, or when we return to near long-term support, we can increase this position and then replenish it to reduce costs. This is a great opportunity. Let's take a look. The last time there was a buying loss was at the 85 level, and now there is a signal of this loss again. So at least in the short to medium term, it will have a chance to rebound. So for this CRWV, it's basically a follower of NVIDIA. No matter how NVIDIA rises, it will rise as well. So a while ago, we also gave you tips on how to lay out. It has already brought us tens of thousands of dollars in profit. So we have been paying attention to it. Let's take a look at yesterday's Diamond Edition. Did the teacher remind us to reiterate that the Diamond Edition corresponds to our previous redesign, the King Edition? Therefore, its equity is the highest. Everyone must remember CRWV. Let's see if there was any prompt yesterday. Yesterday happened to be around 91, conservative will be around 90, and when we see around 96 and 100, there will be small positions and a 15-minute short-term layout. So the actual situation is quite accurate compared to the points we provided. Let's take a look. If we keep up with this situation, there will definitely be profits in the future. Also, regarding the key kelb that we previously focused on, let's take a look at the bullish trend on QQ. In fact, we also provided it during trading. And when Tesla surged, they always reminded us to pay attention to the profit-taking position, right? Then let's take a look at SOXL. As for SOXL, when we looked at it yesterday, we also reminded everyone not to go bottom fishing yet because it may return to around 24. We also said it yesterday, right? However, yesterday it had this sorting situation, and we can see that it was basically sorted like this. So for the standard formula, if Jiao A enters the biggest center and Jiao B center, it will at least have one back-stepping action, right? The action of stepping back requires it to fall below the low point below, so my suggestion is to wait until it falls below 24 before considering buying the bottom, which will be more stable. These are some of the operational directions of SOXL. So for today's program, that's all for analysis. You can click subscribe and keep up with the content published on my channel in a timely manner. This way you will be able to quickly understand technical analysis and trading theories, including stocks, AI technology, and digital currencies. Thank you all. Follow Aji. See you in the next episode.